is on.
NGOs. So I hope I'm very audible enough.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so you'll be following from the slides. I'm sharing them. You'll be following from there. And then if you have any question, any inquiry, you should be able to raise up your hand and then we'll give you the opportunity to ask. But later on, we're going to give space for questions for anything you wanted to know. So, but for now, let us go ahead and learn. Yes. So, proposal writing. Yes, I believe most of you have come across this, and most of you have written proposals. Most of you are working in projects that have already succeeded, and yeah, I believe all of you have a lot of experience, different experiences. So, briefly, I just wanted to know your experience in proposal writing. You can write in the tag in the box, the chat box, and then I'll be able to read them. Just wanted to know your experience in writing proposals. Yes, so a proposal is a formal document that outlines a plan or a request for a project, idea, or funding. So we're going to be diving so much in grant proposals. Yes, we all know grants are monetary stuffs, monetary things that we get. So we're going to be diving so much in grant proposal writing. So generally, a proposal is just a request for something, for money, for resources. Yeah, that is a request. So it's used to convince a recipient, that can be a donor, an organization, an individual, to fund your initiatives that you already have. So there are so many different types of proposals. We have business proposals that normally calls for partnership, contracts, those ones, and then we have grant proposals, those ones are seeking for funds. And then we have concept notes, that is briefly a description of an idea that needs funding also. Yeah, so there are so many purposes why we write proposals. Yes, one, you want to secure funding or resources. You want to get approval for a project that you have thought about, you've written, or you want to establish partnership or collaborations with other organizations, other NGOs. So that is our introductory part. And then, so we are coming into the part of now writing. We all know that most times donors put out calls for proposals. They give out the calls. People should apply for this, and this. So, as a grant proposal writer, you should be able to understand your audience before you even start writing. Of course, if a call is put out there, you should be able to understand the call very well, know your audience. For instance, let me say donors, organizations who are calling for proposals, you should be able to know their priorities, their goals, that you can be able to align yours with them. And then most times for NGOs, donors look for
Yeah, yeah.
proposals that aligns.
This week we have one. They did not. This one they did not record it, but I informed him. Chris should include one TV post. Yeah.
Can you mute?
So,
Thank Yes, thank you. So I was saying, for NGOs, mostly they are funded by donors. Yes, so donors always look for proposals that's aligned with their mission, their focus areas, For instance, most calls always come with a focus area. They'll be like, you should write a proposal on education, health center, poverty, water, all those things. Mainly, their focus is on the sustainable development goals. Yes, so for individuals, we see that investors are focused on return on investment. So let us talk about now business. When somebody is investing on business, that person wants something out of it. There should be a return out of that. And then the second thing is you have to tailor your proposal. Customize its proposal to match the recipient priorities. Yeah. And then your needs, your specific needs should align with them. And then you have to research very well. Yes, so generally, before you start writing, like you've seen a call that is already put out, um, do a very thorough research on the what on the call, even the organization the organization that is calling out for proposal. Someone's mic is on. Kindly, can you mute? All right, thank you. Yes, so you should be able to do a thorough research on the organization. It can be an embassy, can be a company. You should be able to do research very well so that you'll be able to align your requests, your need to what they also want. So now the writing process. Yes, so in the writing process, the first thing you should do is plan. Ask yourself, what do you need the money for? Now that one, your problem come in. Of course, you might have seen a problem in your community, your organization, your school, wherever you are, you have seen a problem. Okay. So think of a solution to that problem. That is actually the start point. You already have the problem. Think about a solution to that problem on your own, and then after thinking for a solution, and then you can get to collect data like, is this problem effective? Like, what will be the consequences if this problem is not solved? So it's just not matter of getting any problem and you think it can be solved. No. First know the consequences of that problem if it's not solved. Okay. So you collect data, and then there you can be able to measure if indeed that problem needs a solution. So the second thing is research. You already have the problem, you already have your solution, and then you have to research who you will approach to help you. Yes, so in this research, you should be able to dive in so many social medias. Even you collaborate with other organizations, other NGOs, they can be able to help you. So look for who you will approach to solve that problem of yours. If it's an education problem, look for donors who supports education. If it's healthcare thing, yeah, you should look for donors who supports that. And then after looking for that donor and then having that donor in your head, of course, you've researched, you already know very well what that donor wants. So you now write, you come down and put all those things together. You already have a starting point. You have your problem, you already have the solution that you've thought about, you already know who you're going to approach. So you start writing, put everything down. Put everything down. You can put in a wrap, and then after you come and put them all together. And then the last one is follow up. What will you do once the decision has been made? So this one, for instance, you've written and you've submitted, it has gone through. What will you do? Yes, so and then That is all about the writing process. Be able to plan adequately and then do your thorough research. So we're going to the components of a project proposal. What are those things that should be included in a proposal that is adequate, that is effective, that can win you funding? Okay, yes. So these are specifically some of the things that should not miss in your in your proposal. When you're writing your proposal, you should be able to follow these steps until the end. So I'm going to explain each of them. Yeah, so we have the cover letter, executive summary, all of this. So let's go to the explanation part of it. So a cover letter, what is a cover letter? We all know everything starts with a cover, okay? So proposals also start with a cover. A cover is to to give an idea of what is inside a book. For instance, let us take a book. A book cover tells you what is inside the book. So a cover letter of a proposal should be able to tell someone, should be able to tell me that this is this in this book. So make it very interesting. It should look very formal, and then it should be summarized. So specifically, the cover letter should show your project title, your organization name, the address, and the contact information. It should actually summarize the purpose of what? Of the proposal. It's just one page. You don't have to write a lot. Very, very brief. Yes, so after writing the cover letter, then you can go to the next, that is now the executive summary. So the executive summary is one of the things that is always written at the end, like you should write it the last, because the executive summary summarizes your whole proposal. It gives summary of everything, your objectives, your problem statement, the background of your organization, the budget, everything. So executive summary, it's very important because donors most times want to look at your executive summary, your introduction. So it's even to everyone, when you open something and something interests you can continue even reading that thing. Compare it like to books. When you open a book and the book is interesting, you can continue reading that book just from the beginning. It gives you a way, it gives you what you can do. So your executive summary, it's one of the most important part of the proposal. The reviewer will often read it first to determine if they want to continue reading the rest of your proposal. So in your executive summary, be able to put the statement of the problem, talk about the problem, the proposed solution, and the expected outcomes. This one generally talks about your whole proposal. So after that, now you come into the problem. Yes, so the problem statement, most times you 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 get it in your communities. We all know what problems are. So you have your problem. For instance, let us say the problem of Juba is unemployment. Most people are not employed. That is already a problem. Then you come into you come to asking yourself, what can you do? What is it that needs to be done to at least reduce unemployment? There's no way we can say employment will stop. No, like it cannot be reduced completely. It cannot be stopped, but it can be reduced. So that is already your problem. So it is your problem. What data supports that? Why, like, what is the proof that this is a problem? Okay. Then, of course, in the market, you see many people looking for jobs, but they're not getting jobs. And then you ask yourself why. Of course, there are jobs advertised ever and ever and every time. So you ask yourself, why are most people not getting jobs? You find that some people are not skilled enough to get those jobs. So your solution can be like you want to skill the youths, you want to empower them with skills, vocational skills, so that they can even get for themselves something to do, entrepreneurial skills, they can do something for themselves other than looking for jobs. So your problem is already unemployment. And then your title becomes skilling youths or empowering youths in such location. So clearly define the problem or the need your project needs to address. So have evidence that will support your what? Your problem. For instance, you can get the statistics of people who are not employed and then show to the donors that this problem is very, very crucial, like it's very serious, that needs a solution. And then, okay, sometimes we should also keep in our minds that when we are getting a problem, we should get a problem that is very unique. Okay. Um, donors want to fund things that are very unique, like things that are not existing already, ideas that are very unique. So you should be very creative when you want to solve something, when you want to impact your community. Be very creative and get to know the needs of the people in a unique way. So in your problem you can use stories, touching stories. For instance, you can make one of the unemployed youths to talk. That is already a story. You should narrate his story of how things has been. So that is already an evidence that supports your problem statement. And then you should be able to limit the explanation of your problem to a geographical focus area. If it's Juba, talk about Juba generally, because unemployment is everywhere. It is everywhere. So you can't say your focus area would be the whole of South Sudan. That would be too big. You cannot manage that. So explain why it matters, who it affects, the consequences of not addressing that problem. Donors are very interested in knowing the consequences of not addressing such problem. Yes, so we should put that in mind. And then the fourth one are now the goals and the objectives. So the goal of that proposal is very important. So goals are broad, they are long-term achievements. For instance, you want to reduce child malnutrition in rural areas. Rural areas, there are many rural areas, so you should be specific. You can be like reduce child malnutrition in Juba or in Gure, particularly in that area. So your goal is very important because it sets a way for your proposal, for your project if gets funded. And then now the objectives. Objectives are specific, measurable actions that can help you achieve your goal, because the goal is the broad one. So now the objectives will help you achieve your goals. Now, objectives have to be very smart. Very smart. When I say smart, smart stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic or relevant, and within time bound. So they have to be very, very smart. For example, we already have an example here to improve economic opportunities. So economic opportunities for 50 women in rural areas through vocational training and entrepreneurship support within 6 months. So improve economic opportunities, you're being specific what you want to address. Measurable for 15 women. This one you should be very sure that you'll be able to achieve that. It should be measurable. And then how is it realistic? How is it relevant? Through vocational training or entrepreneurship support, that hand becomes now relevant. It is something of importance. And then time bound within 6 months. So this objective is already very smart. This is smart because this objective explains everything that is written, that is abbreviated as SMART. So when writing your objectives, be very smart in writing them, something that is achievable. Because when your project gets funded, projects are not continuous. They are for a definite time. short period of time or a long period of time, but they are not continuous. They have to start and they stop. So be sure to know that. So consider this when writing your objectives. One, the key areas your project needs to address. What what does your project want to address? Who is targeted? Who is involved in this change? How much is the degree of the change required? How much is the change? How much change is required out of this? What is the deadline? That is not a time bound. Then it should be directly related to the project goal. If the project goal is to reduce malnutrition, and then your objective should be reduce malnutrition by this in this location within this through this. So it should relate you back to your project goal. And then when writing that, you should start with words like to, and then an action verb, decrease, increase, strengthen, improve, and hence action verbs. I've already talked about the objectives being smart. So now let's talk about the project activities, methodologies, or implementation plan. So now the project activities or the methodologies, this stage is one of the very vital stage because it is the details of your proposal. This is how you want to solve the problem. You already have the problem, you already proposed the solution. So now this is the action. In this stage, you should be talking of the actions, the things that you're going to do to be able to achieve what you what you plan. So describe the strategies, activities, and steps you will take to achieve the project objectives. So in this stage, you already have, for instance, you have four objectives. Okay, you have four objectives. So in those four objectives, your activity should be able to relate back to your objectives. For instance, your objective is to train people. So in your activity, you should be able to put details on how you're going to train the people, and then you should be able to put the timeline, okay, timeline on when you're going to train these people, how, even the budget, how many people are involved, who, all those things should be able to put in your project activity. The methodologies are the methods how you're going to do that. And then the implementation plan is all the same thing. You should be able to do that. So activities describes who, what, when, and how. So in your activity should be able to answer who, when, what, and how. List all the tasks that you want to do that can help you accomplish or that can help you achieve your objective. That very one objective, and then the other one also follows. It follows. So relate your activities to your objectives so that it becomes very easy to monitor them. It becomes very easy to track your project. You don't miss something out. You become very consistent. So add timeline. For instance, you want to do training about this to these people within this time, or within this time and this. The reason is to achieve this and this and this. So be very accurate in that. So activities can include training, workshops, tricksors, relays, conferences, meetings. These are all activities. We all know what activities are. So now the other one is expected outcomes. When writing proposals that needs funding, donors are very interested to know the outcome of this. Nobody wants to fund something without knowing the outcome. The outcome is the immediate results. Nobody wants to fund something without knowing the impact of that thing. So in your proposal so to the donor that your proposal has these expected outcomes. If this solution is implemented, such and such outcome will come out. Then your outcomes have to be very measurable, and your outcomes have to be very reasonable also. So in your proposal that your idea or your solution has expected outcomes. So the other one is now monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring, all the monitoring is to determine whether your project is achieving the objectives that you've set. You monitor something that is already implemented. So when you look at the project life cycle, there is one of its stages is monitoring and evaluation. So for instance, you've written a project and then your project gets funded. So you have to start the initial stage, you have to implement, and then you monitor. After implementing, you have to monitor what? You have to monitor the progress of your project against the predetermined or defined goals or the objectives that you put forward. So when writing, you should be able to show how you're going to do monitoring. What are those indicators that you're going to use for success? Like, what are those indicators that will measure the success of your project? Be sure to know that. For example, when we say our project is to empower youths, and then you want to bring in vocational skills like tailoring, computer skills, those ones. So one of your indicators can be the number of trained people, the number of attendees, the number of businesses that are opened by these people. That can be your indicator. You can use that to measure the success of your project. And if for instance, if the youths that you've trained in your class are now opening businesses on their own, meaning your project is achieving its objectives. So another reason to do monitoring is to identify problems. Sometimes you cannot just run the whole project without having problems, or without having some things that needs to be adjusted, readjusted, removed or deleted, all those things. So monitoring is to help you solve those problems. For instance, there's a problem in this stage is not moving very well. So that monitoring helps you to be able to come up with solutions for decision making. That is all monitoring. So provide the indicators and the metrics that will be used to track the progress and assess whether objectives are being met. So if your project is not achieving its objectives, then you're doing nothing. Like if you do not see any objective, then you have to come down with your team and think of other ways how you're going to what? How you're going to make your objectives stand out, how you're going to achieve your objectives. Or you do another plan for that. And then you should be able to know who is going to monitor and evaluate. What is that person going to monitor even? Okay? What is that person going to monitor? You cannot just say, I'm calling so and so to monitor, you cannot give someone what to monitor. That is very wrong. So be able to know what you're going to monitor, when you're going to do that monitoring. So for monitoring, it is continuous, okay? Monitoring is continuous from the beginning, the start of the project to the end. You have to monitor the performance of your project. Evaluation can be periodical. You can do it at the start or in the mid or at the end. It will depend on your plan, but monitoring is continuous. You have to do it always. So the other one is how to monitor this. And then what are the resources required to want to do this monitoring? For instance, you want to do questionnaires, okay? Questionnaires, you want to ask people. Of course, there are things that are required. You need a notepad to do that. You need those things to do the monitoring. So in the monitoring, put in your head that you're monitoring the progress of your project. And then you should be able to answer who, what, when, how, and what is needed to do this monitoring. So that is all about monitoring. Then what funders looked for in evaluation plan or monitoring. So funders want to know that your evaluation plans flows logically from the objectives in the specified work plan or the activities. And then your evaluation plan promises to provide solid evidence of your project effectiveness. Now, when monitoring, you don't have to collect wrong data. Be sure to collect right informations. uh, Most times it is very easy in some of the organizations. You find the monitoring person goes, the monitoring officer goes and collect, or he tells people, some people employ some people to collect data, when actually the people are not being realistic. People bring wrong data, wrong information, and that one destroys the whole project. It has a greater impact because you will not know what is, like, the donor or the project manager will not be able to know what is actually happening to the what is happening in the project. Yeah, so be able to provide effective information about that. So your then your evaluation plan is detailed and specified, and it's also realistic and feasible. So the other one is now budget. So this is now the key. The budget is the key because um we write proposals to get funded. So it is out of the budget that we make for us to get funds. It is what we shall get after making what? The budget. So in making the budget, you should be able to present the details of what you want, of the cost that is involved in executing this project. You should do research on prices, on how things are, the economic statuses, all those things. You should have them all in your mind so that you can be able to estimate a budget for that. And then you should be able to include indirect cost, direct cost, all those things. And then your budget should be able to align with the project activities and objectives. Of course, if you say in your activity, one of your activity is to train people, okay, to do campaigns on something or sensitization, and then there's a cost that is required for that. So in your budget, you should be able to put in that cost. Your budget should reflect your activities because the budget will help you do or implement your activities. So what funders look for in a budget? A clear match between the proposed activities and the proposed expenditure. Everything has to match. You do not have to underestimate or overestimate. Be very reasonable and realistic in your estimations. Then you should put justification for all your expenses. It is very important because there are some expenses that donors don't even understand. Because for instance, your donor is in those outside countries. He will not be able to know what is happening here down. So you should put a justification for your cost, what you put, justify it. So it becomes very easy for somebody to understand that this amount is going out for this and this and this, and it's very easy. So your budget has to be accurate also. Then you should be able to put the staffing, all the project team, people who are going to help you implement the project out there. So sustainability. So sustainability, as we all know, the economy keeps changing. You may wake up one day and find out that donors are not going to fund your project anymore. And if you do not plan for this, I should say it's a risk that we always need to plan while actually developing the proposal. You should be able to have those risks planned for. It can be a risk that your donor is not going to to fund your project anymore, and you cannot stop there. You need to continue. You need to continue with that project. You need to continue. You need to make it lasting. So in your proposal, you should be able to show how your project is going to continue and have a lasting impact. For instance, let us take the project of empowering youths. You're empowering youths with skills. These skills are going to implement them outside. So it becomes very easy to sustain such project because you find if you train these youths very well, you provide them with adequate resources, they can be able to start their own project. So what you do is to monitor them, and there they get income. Income is always coming in. So when income comes in every time, then it becomes very easy to sustain that project. So you do not have to always depend on your donors. Donors are human; they change anytime. Or most proposals have deadlines. Okay, they have a period of time first, and your proposal is maybe for 6 months. Then after those 6 months, are you going to stop? Okay, are you going to stop there as soon as they stop funding you? You're stopping there? No, you need to continue. You need to keep impacting your community. You need to keep changing lives of people. You need to continue with that project. You don't have to end, because if the project is solving a problem, and then that problem needs to be solved completely, so you don't have to stop. So explain if other funding sources are there, other income generating activities will be there to sustain your project. So you can and then you should be able to also include local institutions or communities to even own your project. They should take over the project. So all those things, you should be able to put them in your sustainability plan. So that is all about the complaints or the content of what? Of a proposal, or a project proposal. And then, so to this far, is anyone having a question? Or I can continue.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Ojara Charles. Thank you for the presentation. I want you to throw more light on what do we monitor in a project. And then, because from your explanation, you say we monitor the progress of the project. Because when I'm a project officer, I believe I use the project plan to monitor what is being done, the project achieve and not achieve. And then also I want you to differentiate. When we look the similarity, they're all about fundraising. Thank you.
Okay, I didn't pick your last words.
The last point I'm saying, you differentiate between a project proposal and business plan. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
You got it right?
yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
So, your first question was, what do you monitor in a project? Yes, so like I
Yes.
said, you should have those key performance indicators. Okay, when you're writing your proposal, be able to have those performance indicators. So those performance indicators are the things that you monitor. For instance, you've said in your performance, one of your performance indicator is to see the number of people attending. So you go and monitor how many people are attending such training. Hmm? If if this is the number that you planned for, and then you're progressing very well in your monitoring. So monitoring is generally to assess the progress of your project. I don't know if you get that. Are you fine now?
Little bit.
Okay. Um, Let me write it down so I can come and explain at the end. Yes, so I'm going to continue and then I'll come at the end and answer all this. So let's talk about the key elements or tips for NGOs. So when I talk about the key elements, these are the things that are very necessary that one has to know in writing proposals. For instance, in writing proposals that needs funding from NGOs or embassies or other things. So one, you should be able to align with the donor's priorities. So every donor has its own priorities. Every donor has its own focus area. Every donor has its own instructions. So you should be able to align yours with the donor's priorities. Your mission should be able to align with the donor priorities. The instances where you find that the call or the donor do not even support what your organization is aimed at reaching. So those such instances you just leave. You don't have to apply for them. You don't have to apply for that call because it is not in your area of interest or it does not align with the mission of your organization, because you should be very sure to align your projects with the organizational what mission. So the other one is community engagement. So how the community is involved in the planning, execution, and sustainability of the project. So donors are very interested in knowing how the community responds to your project. They're very interested in knowing if the ideas of the community is taken into consideration, because they are the beneficiaries. Okay, let's talk of projects that benefits the community. The community becomes the beneficiary of that project, so you should be able to show in your proposal that the community is engaged in the planning, execution of your project, and even the sustainability. And then the other one is monitoring and evaluation. Yes, so your plan for monitoring should be very clear, very clear, because if it's not clear, you'll not be able to know the progress of your project and you'll have nothing to report to your donors. So have that in mind, report to them, and then so how the project is progressing. So those are three key things when you're seeking for grants from NGOs. Be able to align with them, community. You should involve the community and then do serious monitoring and reporting. And then now the writing tips or the techniques. So when you're writing, you should be very clear, very clear. You find that there are proposals that have a lot of details, and you find most of the details not even make any sense. They are not making any sense. So be able to be very clear and to the point. Use formal language while writing. Do not be complex. Do not be complex. Be very formal, so that your reader can understand. And then persuasiveness. Um, we all know that proposals are to pursue somebody or to tell someone to help you or to help find a solution for something. So you have to you have to get the attention of that person, okay? Get the attention of that person to you, like be able to connect with that person so that the person can easily find you. So let us take it back to the families. Yes, let me say a student and a parent. If you're a student, you want something from your parent, you have to be very persuasive. You have to be very, like you have to have evidence on what you want, something like that. So be very so that somebody can look into your issue, that indeed this issue needs something and it's easily found. Then conciseness, be concise and to the point. I've already talked about this. Be direct to the point. Avoid avoid details that are not necessary. For proposals that already have set of guidelines, just answer their questions. Just follow that guideline. Do not add a lot of things. They will not make any sense. And then common mistakes that we need to avoid. So one of the mistakes that happens and that leads to projects not being funded is vagueness. Like you're not being clear. You're not defining your problem very clear. Your solution is not clear. Your objectives are not clear. Your plan for implementation is not clear. It becomes very hard for somebody to what? To even take any interest in what you're writing. So avoid that. And then lack of research. Um, Most times you find that you do not have enough knowledge about the funder you're writing to. So if you don't have enough knowledge, you have not researched enough, it becomes even very hard for your proposal to go through. Sometimes your problem do not even have enough evidence to back it up that indeed it needs to be what? It needs to be solved. So that then becomes another problem. If you don't do research, it's a risk already. You should just be able to know that your proposal might be rejected. And then unrealistic budgets. So some proposals are very unrealistic. They do not even match the narratives. For instance, in your proposal, you've included steps doing something, and then in your budget, you're not including those steps. Okay, you're not including those steps, and then it is not matching. And then sometimes you say your proposal will work with, let me say, 200 people, and then your budget only covers for 50 people. That is already a mismatch. Your budget is not being realistic. So always review your budget with the activities that you're putting in place so that you can be very consistent in all your proposal. Do not underestimate or even overestimate costs. It will what? It will make your budget unrealistic and you can easily be denied funding. So take that into notice. And then ignoring donor guidelines. Yes, so people, some grant writers do not follow instructions. They do not follow the criteria that are being put out in the calls, or they do not even answer the questions that are what? That are being put out there, do not even answer the requirements that are there. So this leads to automatic rejection because your area is not that. For instance, a proposal is calling for education project, but then you're writing a project for what? For water, and you're sending to that donor. That is already automatic. That's already automatic rejection. And then lack of a plan. You do not have a plan. Many times a clear plan is missing in your proposal. That shows how You can even use the fund. You do not have that plan how you're going to use the funds. So be able to be very clear in that. If your plan is saying you will use these funds for this and this and this and this, use it in the proper way, follow that plan. And then target group or population not clearly defined. So there are scenarios where you find people writing bigger statements like we will work with local population who are not even defined. That local population, how many are they? What are their what are their demographic look like status? You do not have all those things. What are their geographical areas? Other factors are not explained. So that one becomes unclear. It is not defined. So it can lead to rejection of your proposal. And then funders fund solutions to problem, not activities. So reorganizing that funders do not fund problems or item, they find solution to problems. They only fund solutions to problems. They do not fund problems. They want solution. So if your project do not have a clear solution, then they will not fund that. So the other one is barriers encountered in proposal writing. So let us take a break of 2 minutes, and then we shall start from there. checking out 2 minutes at one. I hope you've rested, you've taken some water, you have stressed yourself. Yes, so we're going to continue. I've seen questions in the chat box. I'll come to them at the end. I'll reply finish first and then I'll answer the questions. So if you do have a question, you can drop it in the chat box and then we'll continue from there. So a minute, let me share my screen. Yes, so we're going to look at the barriers that are encountered most times in proposal writing. So one of it is lack of research resources. I've seen a question that there are communities that do not have data published. Yeah, and in South Sudan, there are very many of those communities. So I can best answer that person that it is not only maybe the statistics that is the only evidence. Like, so the other things that you can use to some other things that you can use to prove your problem. You can use stories from that location. You can go there to that location, ask questions. You can use the stories to strengthen your problem, like your need, the community need. So issues of where data is not published, it's always is a problem. So you can use other ways to solve that. So when you do not do research in gathering enough information or data about your problem, it becomes very hard for somebody to understand your problem. It becomes very hard. So you should be able to have some data that at least supports you what your problem. And then time constraints. So sometimes there are calls that are put out for a very short deadline, very short period of time. I mean, so it becomes very hard to gather enough information and even to write a good proposal. It becomes very hard. You find most times you're on rush and your proposal will not be well developed. So that one becomes a very big barrier. So I would advise if you see a deadline that is so close and you do not have enough data to support or to back up your problem, you do not have to even waste time writing. Because I'm telling you, like organizations that send out calls for proposals have a lot of work. A lot of proposals actually goes into them. It will not only be yours, there are very many. So you should have in your mind that this is a competitive thing. To go through can be very hard. So if you're rushing, it will just be like you're wasting time. So be have enough time. If you've seen a call today and the deadline is maybe in November, that one is an ample time for you to prepare, get everything ready so you can actually stand out in that. So the other one is unclear donor requirements. Yes, so some donors actually do not have clear or
Recording
even
is on.
fail to meet the expectations, because if you do not know someone, you do not know what they want, it becomes very hard for you to win that person's heart or even trust. So such things are barriers, yeah. And then funding competition. Yeah, like I've said, proposals, okay, organizations that put out calls to have a lot of people who send in, who submits in what proposals. So they always look for that. They always look for the best one. That's what I'm saying. When writing proposal, you need to be very organized, very consistent, very detailed, very organized and brief. You don't have to write a lot of things. They don't even have time to read that. So it's a very competitive thing when they send out calls. It's very competitive. So tailor it to the best of their interests. That one at least you can stand a chance of winning. And then now here, what do funders really want to know? Yes. So this is going to be a clue, yeah, for us. Yes. What do funders want to know in your proposal? So the first thing is, what specific need are you addressing? That takes you back to your problem statement. Somebody have asked uh, an example of a problem statement. Yes. So I do not have a sample with me right now, but when I'll be sharing the notes, I'll share a sample of that, and you'll be able to see. So a problem statement is like you're addressing, like you're talking about a problem, then you're putting in a solution. You put in the consequences of not solving that problem, put in a solution. So funders want to know what your need is. Then your need has to be very unique. When I say unique, it means something that they have not, it should be something that they have not funded before, something that is very unique to them and a serious thing. So you can put that down in your writing, emphasize that it's a serious need, that your community needs that. And then what audience or community are you serving? Um, Donors are very interested in serving a large number of people. They're very interested in knowing that they're serving many people. For instance, if your proposal is personal, many funders in their calls says it should be something that supports a community, something that is this, and this, and this in their instructions. So it should be able to serve a number of people. It should benefit many people. And then what evidence do you have to support your need? Now that one comes to the data, the statistics, the number of people, the stories, touching stories of people suffering because of this and this. Yes, you should what? You should have that data. It helps them think very, very easy for that. So what are you trying to achieve? Now that one is your goals and your objectives. If your goal is to skill youths in order to what? To reduce poverty or to alleviate poverty, so that youths can maybe perform, or they can contribute to development of a community or a country like that. So what you should be able to show what with that. So donors are very interested in knowing that. So what are your strategies for making this happen? That then comes to your plan of action, your activities. Somebody asked what are the examples of what? Of an activity. Yes. So an activity is like a task, okay? It's like a task. I talked about examples of what? Of activities. It can be training people. That is already an activity. It can be it can be maybe organizing rallies, okay? That is an activity. So activities are the things that you do to help you achieve your object like your objective or even your goal. So your plan has to be specific and to action. Something that you know you can implement very easy, very easy. So, like, let me say, for example, your project is to maybe to what to bring peace among the youths, so that youths can contribute to the development of the country. So, in your activity, you be like, I want to do mentorship. Okay, I want to do mentorship. Where are you going to do the mentorship? You can be like, I want to organize these youths, like in in a group. Okay, these youths of this community in a group, and then I mentor them. I talk to them about peace. I tell them importance of peace, or that is already your activity you're implementing. That is already an activity. Or else you can be like, bringing together youths, can be very easy in sports. You gather them, you bring for them football, they play all those things. And then after playing, you give in message of peace, or before even playing, you give in message of peace. That is already an activity. And then that is already your strategy to achieve what? Peace in that location. So that is it. And then what will you know? Okay, how will you know if you're successful? Yes, so specific program objectives in measurable terms. I mean, so how will you know you're successful? That one now comes to your key performance indicators. You go, if you do monitoring, and then you'll be able to know whether you're succeeding or not. You identify those key indicators of success. Outline data and analyze the activity. Collect data and analyze that activity. Then you just, from your data, it can tell you whether you're achieving or you're not, you're succeeding or not. And then if you're not, what is the reason? Is this plan not work? Is this plan not worth it you for a plan that is worth and that you think can bring into your what? That can make you succeed. I mean, so why are you the best organization to do this? So this is not organization. So my two donors also do research about your organization. If you apply to them and you happen to be selected, they what? They research about your organization. So your mission, your history, the programs that you do, the leadership, the accomplishments, your success stories. Those ones are very, very important for organizations that needs funding. If the organization needs funding, you should be having a very clear organizational stand. Your mission has to be very clear. Your leadership has to be very good, because this is like somebody giving out something, and nobody wants to give something out to somebody who cannot take care of that. So your leadership has to be very good. Then they even want to know that you've ever succeeded in your organization. Okay, if you've not, they will think twice, because if you've never succeeded, why have you never applied this? So they also want to know your history. So take that into notice. Then how will this project sustain itself? Sustainability, it is very important. Sustainability is very important. The economy changes. So when you're implementing your project, even before you're implementing, when you're coming up with your project scope, you're coming back with your project, be able to think of how you're going to sustain this project. Don't just write a project that you cannot sustain over time. So donors are very interested to know how you sustain the project after a very long run. After they have stopped funding you, they want to know whether you continue. And if you cannot continue, they will not be interested, because why would you only get from them and you cannot impact something that is long lasting? And then supporting materials, follow funders guidelines, include everything they ask for. Everything they ask for, and very less or little that they have not asked for. Then for online application, it's okay to add links where possible. First, and your organizational link you can put in there so that they can your website. I mean your website link you should put there. And then they can be able to open and go through that. And then key takeaways. So start with an outline. Keep the language clear and concise. Focus on the funder's interests. Follow the funder's guidelines. Revise and edit before submitting. So when you follow this, when writing your proposal, it can become very easy for you to succeed and for you to write a very good proposal out. And then so we've come to the end. Then the conclusion, the final remarks will come over that. So I want you to imagine yourself as a donor when writing proposals. So if you imagine yourself like you're the donor, okay, you'll be able to put in everything that would what? Like you'll be able to know what you can put in, because the most vital thing is to make somebody understand you. Okay. If somebody can understand you in your proposal, it becomes very easy for that person to open his hand and just fund your project. So imagine yourself that you're the donor, and then somebody else is writing to you a proposal. What are those things that you consider? You'll consider before giving out your money. What are those things you'll consider? So just imagine yourself like that, and it becomes very easy for you to write something that is very sensible and very realistic. Yes. So that is briefly about the proposal. I want to thank you all for listening. So somebody asked that what are the differences between a business proposal and a project proposal. So a project is something. A project is a set of activities or an endeavor that has specific objectives or goals that needs to be achieved. It is between a set period of time. Okay, it has a definite beginning and a definite ending time. Okay, so a, a business plan. Okay, a business plan is normally to win clients, or you want to win contracts, partnership with other companies, other organizations. That's normally business plan. But a project proposal is for you to get funding. Okay, you want to get funding from someone. That is when you write a project proposal. But for business, you write a business proposal for something like you want to win something, a contract or a partnership. So that is the difference. That is the difference between a business proposal and a project plan. So looking in here. Yes, I'll share the slides after this session. I'll be able to share the slides and even a sample of a proposal so that you can go through it and you'll be able to know what to put. So Isaac, you can speak.
Thank you very much for the presentations. That's been a nice one. I just have a question that I wanted to ask. I think I wrote it in the chat box. In the chat box, what does it require to write an individual project proposal compared to an organizational one? And then what is the success rate of the two types of project proposals writing? Thank you.
Okay. Then pardon me with the first one. Yes, Isaac.
Yes, you're with me.
Yes, first, pardon with the first question.
The first question is, what does it require, or what does it take to write an individual project proposal compared to an organizational one? Like, for example, I'm just by myself and I wish to write a project proposal. What does it require for me to write that compared to working for an organization or an institution?
Mm,
And then what is the success rate of the two? Like, for example, someone is submitting an individual on behalf of an individual, and that the person is writing on behalf of an organization. I mean, what is the rate of the two in terms of getting funded?
mm,
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Oh, who is this? You can mute and speak. Yes, so I think,
Hello?
okay,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm Carbino, dude. I hesitated because there was someone ahead of me.
Mm,
Thank you, Susan, for this presentation. Actually, I've been involved in writing proposals. Some were successful and some were
mm,
declined. And now I'm in the middle of writing another proposal. Even I say, let me delay it after this session to start working on it. And I think
mm,
this session will help me a lot to write out that proposal. But I think proposal is not a work of only one person
mm,
because
mm,
there are some technical parts that one person cannot do alone, like finance, preparing the budget, or things to do with the data, which
mm.
is a work of M&E, plus other things. So I want you to elaborate more. How can what are the technical parts that can contribute to a very good proposal? I mean that is it possible for one person to be familiar with all these technical parts so that he don't caught up with a limit of time when preparing a proposal?
Okay.
Yeah, that is one.
Mm,
Another one is sometimes some donors they decline or they turn down your proposal. In my case, they say your proposal is good, but many people have applied. So and we have
mm,
prioritized some of them.
mm.
Is it a polite way of just rejecting your proposal instead of giving you a good feedback that can help you next